The summer skies of Alabama are usually blue, birds sing, winds drift over cotton fields, and the small town of Tanner, nestled beside the Louisville and Nashville Railroad, lives at its own gentle rhythm. Named after Samuel Tanner, the first mayor of nearby Athens, this unincorporated community of barely 2,000 souls knows everyone by name, every porch by heart. But the heavens had written Tanner's name in a different book, a book of rage. The first strike. The 3rd of April 1974. The 3rd of April 1974. The air over Tanner was unnaturally warm. Humidity clung to skin like a damp shroud. Farmer Jackson stood on his porch, staring west. The clouds there weren't just grey, they were black, swelling, churning like smoke from a dying world. He called to his wife, "Martha, get inside, something's coming." At 6:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time, a funnel touched down just west of Moulton, near the tiny hamlet of Mount Hope. At first, it was weak, almost playful, but within a few miles, it transformed into a monster. As it roared over Hatton and Mount Moriah, homes dissolved like sugar in rain. One family of 6 grandfather, parents, 3 children was silenced forever beneath their own roof. Then came Tanner's turn. Crossing the Tennessee River, the tornado re-strengthened, as if feeding on the water's energy. It slammed into the southern edge of town. Houses were swept away as though they'd never existed. Trees were debarked, stripped bare of their skin. Cars were flung across fields like children's toys. At Lawson's Trailer Park, once a place of laughter and weekend barbecues, nothing remained but twisted metal and silence. An entire family perished there in seconds. "I've never seen anything like this," said Ben, a resident standing in front of what used to be his home. "It's like the end of the world." The first tornado moved on. Rescue workers began sifting through the rubble. But no one knew this was only the intermission. The second strike. Just 30 minutes later. Before the clock could strike 7 p.m., the western sky growled again. A second supercell storm was tracking almost identically to the first, as if nature were replaying its own horror. The roar returned that sound locals describe as a freight train running through your living room. This time, the funnel ploughed straight through downtown Tanner. Homes that had survived the first blow were now pulverized. A man injured at Lawson's Trailer Park during the first tornado had been carried to a nearby church, a church that stood untouched. But when the second tornado struck, the church collapsed on top of him. He never saw the morning. People ran in blind panic. No radios, no cell phones, no warnings. A woman hid in a ditch with her 2 children as their roof flew off into the darkness. She whispered over and over, "We're going to live. We're going to live." When the second tornado finally lifted, Tanner was no longer a town. It was a graveyard of splintered wood and shattered dreams. 2 F5 tornadoes, 30 minutes apart. No other town in history had endured that. And again. The 27th of April 2011. 37 years passed. Tanner rebuilt. New houses rose. New trees were planted. New children played on new lawns. But Tanner's history, it seemed, was doomed to repeat itself. April 2011. By the 25th and 26th, 162 tornadoes had already touched down across the South. Forecasters warned that April 27 would be the worst day. At 3:05 p.m., a tornado formed 5 miles southwest of Hamilton, Alabama. It grew as it moved, feeding on the unstable air, and by the time it reached Hackleburg, it was an EF5 beast. Entire blocks were erased. A Wrangler jeans factory was torn apart, and denim pants were found 40 miles away. 14 people died in Hackleburg alone. Then came Phil Campbell. Then Oak Grove. Then Mount Hope, where meteorologist Gary Dobbs, who had been live on air from 4:30 a.m., had just come home to rest. He called his station, "Gary, I see rotation now. I hear the roar. It looks like it's coming straight this way. I've got to go inside." He barely made it into his closet before the tornado ripped his house apart. Gary was flung into his backyard, pelted with debris, severely injured, but miraculously, he survived. And then the tornado crossed the Tennessee River again, and it aimed straight for Tanner again. By the time it hit Tanner's southern side, it was still at high-end EF4 strength. Homes that had been rebuilt after the 1974 tornadoes, some with anchor bolts, concrete foundations were swept away like leaves. A cargo container was thrown 600 yards. Cars were hurled hundreds of yards through fields. A church and a mobile home park, both rebuilt after '74, were destroyed once more. The tornado followed the exact same path as the 1,974 twisters through Harvest, through Capshaw, through the same rural crossroads. It finally dissipated at 4:50 p.m. after travelling 102 miles in 1 hour and 45 minutes. It claimed 72 lives and injured 145. Tanner, Alabama population 2,000, had now been hit by 3 EF5 tornadoes, the only town on Earth with that grim distinction. So, is Tanner cursed? Scientists can't say for sure. Tanner sits in northern Alabama, a state that sees more tornadoes per year than almost any other. When that many funnels spin across the same region year after year, some are bound to overlap. It's like lightning striking the same spot, not because the spot is special, but because there's so much lightning. Local elders have their own theories. Some point to the Tennessee River Valley, others whisper about the hills and valleys channeling the winds. But most just shrug and say, it's our luck, bad luck. And yet the people of Tanner stay. They rebuild, they plant new gardens, they hold church services in new sanctuaries. They know the warning signs, the green-black sky, the still air, the freight train roar. They know when to run for the shelter. The last word. Tanner's story isn't really about tornadoes. It's about people who refuse to be erased. Every time the sky falls, they rise again. Every time the wind takes their homes, they lay new bricks. If you ever visit Tanner, you won't just hear tales of destruction, you'll hear laughter from front porches, the clatter of children on bicycles, the clink of coffee cups in the morning, and underneath all that, a quiet, unshakable truth. This town has been to hell 3 times, and it's still standing. So, if you're superstitious, and you're looking for a house, maybe skip Tanner. But if you're looking for heart for the pure, stubborn, beautiful refusal to give up, there's no better place on earth.